Well, good evening. And Annapurna Puja is being celebrated by some of you. And so this evening, I'm going to provide a little bit of material for some contemplation on this subject. We finally figured out how to do these broadcasts live. So this is actually coming to you live. I remember saying to one devotee some years ago, something that shocked him immensely. I said, spiritual life begins with food. And he didn't quite understand that. And I said it to him as he was eating a meal. And what happened was we had a premises that was on loan to us. And in the winter time, we used to make a continuous stewing pot of food so that when people came in, we didn't have proper heating. They could have something to eat. And the point I was making to this devotee was, shouldn't you do two things? First of all, offer this food to its provider, namely the Lord of the universe. And secondly, should you not offer it to others? And then after that, should you not eat? The ancient social system that we now call the caste system, not today's distorted one, but the original structure is the basic structure for all successful social communities. In the first place, we have to have self-sacrificing, dedicated people. And in today, the modern context of it, in the light of the COVID-19 virus, would be all those dedicated medics, doctors, nurses, and those people in the health industry, and those people in the educational aspect of society, those who are still teaching. These are the dedicated people. These are the vocational people. We require these people of a caste system, namely those who are close to Brahman, that is the Brahmins, who are dedicated, and those who protect them, these are Kshatriya. And then we have the vast majority of people who are involved in industry, commerce, and agriculture. And these are the Vaishyas. And then finally, the Shudras, the unskilled labor. When you have a combination of these things, you have a very strong society. Now, why is it structured in this way? Because we rely on food. And food comes from the ground, essentially. In fact, the Upanishads tell us that food really stands for wherein, stands for matter. When we use the word food, instantaneously we're recalling matter, things that are material. The most basic instinct we have is for food. When you take the structure, for example, the yogic language of spiritual development, you'll find that the first thing that has to unfold is the Muladhara chakra. That is the root. And that is essentially associated with the subtle element of Prithivi, or the earth. And in turn, that provides all noses. The sense of smell is intrinsically tied up with the sense of taste. And the vast majority of what we eat, the coarsest element of it, according to the Upanishads, goes off as waste product. The middle portion goes into flesh, and the finest portion goes into mind. So we are completely reliant on food. Food itself is reliant on the sun. But of course, the whole play of the sun's heat taking up water as evaporation, evaporated vapor, and forming clouds and ultimately condensing it into rainfall. This drama is what produces food, and what produces that is prayer. That is dedicated intention. Those who are prepared to do some ritualistic action that is an physical enforcement of thought. Thought is the most powerful, mobilizing, and creative thing that man possesses. It is this thought that all should benefit from this rainfall. From this, its society prospers and gets rainfall. Society prospers when there are dedicated people, when we take the ego and make it an open channel for God's grace. And so control of this food is very important. And if I'm dedicating myself in this way, then there must be people to protect me. So we should have in mind the good of society. Today's thought and prayer was orientated around those ancient wise people who saw every opportunity in the natural cycle of things. And in these opportunities, they put in various pilgrimages, holy sites, prayers, dramas, poetry for the common man. Today, of course, is Annapurna Puja. Anna, food, and then, of course, Purna, abundance and fullness. The provision of the abundance and fullness always comes from the divine. There is no other source of it. We can resort to Jesus' language and examples that the birds of the air are fed. There's an abundance there, and the lilies of the field are clothed. We don't really have to ask for much. You know, when I first came to Ireland, I thought, this is wonderful. I will never starve. Because growing in the wild, we have nettles that picked carefully so it don't sting yourself. You can put it in hot water, and it's a nourishing food. And of course, there is a tremendous amount of waste that is left from today's supermarkets. If it comes within a certain sight of the expiry date, it goes off for disposal. So there's a great abundance in developing countries, or developed countries, I would say. And there's a great abundance everywhere. There's a great abundance in the air. And if we look for it properly, there's an abundance for most people anyway in this world of food. Or natural disasters such as droughts or economic recessions sometimes. There's a great story, of course, because you see all these profound philosophical concepts come into mythology eventually. So it is said that the Lord Shiva, whose consort is Parvati, had a great deal of argument because Shiva was saying, as many ascetics make the mistake of saying, this is a materialistic world, we should get away from this materialism, and all this matter is nothing more than Maya, mere illusion. Of course, Shiva can easily say that. He's an ascetic. He's a Mahayogi. He sits with a mere minimum clothing and covers himself with the ashes of an ascetic, living there with no home, sky being his home, being surrounded by ghouls and ghosts and goblins and all these kinds of creatures. The Shiva devotees make a strange gathering, the hippies of the divine world. Of course, Parvati objected to that because Parvati was the very embodiment of this matter. And so what she did was she withdrew. And when she withdrew, all the food withdrew with her and left the whole world starving and in danger of annihilation. Eventually, the devotees of Lord Shiva found that there was one small outlet in Varanasi or Kashi, and this belonged to Annapurna, that is Parvati, in the guise, the beautiful guise of the dispenser of charity to the starving. And Shiva's followers got this food. And the lesson for Shiva was this: you can do without food. You are the transcendent one. You have learned to live without. You have learned to fast. But your followers have not. And so there's a great philosophical lesson in this, that we who are dependent on food and matter should not despise it. On the contrary, we should understand it for its divine divinity and its divine nature as a gift. It is a gift to us. And if this is true, if we really understand this, we will take food, we will honor it as a divine offering, something like a prasad. That means we will appreciate every morsel. And I have to tell you that this ashram here in Dublin, Annapurna Devi visits us every day. We have an abundance of food that kind devotees bring us. Should we not take this food and consider to be delivered by the divine hand? Should we not take this food and enjoy every single morsel of it and relish it and eat it with great reverence? This is why, of course, our tradition is such that we take an extract from the Bhagavad Gita and consider every aspect of the eating and the food and the digestive process as absolutely sacred. There are many, many places, of course, in the Upanishads that really tell us of the sacredness of food and the philosophical meaning of it, because the whole of life is divided into energy and matter, and the interplay of these two is what is important and significant. And if we take this simple story also, we will find the significance of this. So in our meditation, once I leave, let us consider a few things. Let us consider that we should be thankful that food is dramatically provided for us by the drama that is played between the interaction of our solar energy and water and carbon and all of the elements that make food and the capacity to digest it. The Lord of the universe as Vaishvara sits within us as the digestive capacity, digesting food for all creatures. Should we not offer our praise and thanks for it? And should we not then align ourselves to these two aspects, these two divine aspects, the Shiva and the Shakti, the Brahman and the Prakriti, the great Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman, and see that the whole thing is nothing but the Lord of the universe. What a wonderful meditation that can provide for us. So we give our praise and thanks to the goddess Annapurna on this occasion, who is also deemed to be Vishalakshmi, the one of wide eyes, the intelligent one who looks after us, the Vishva Shakti, the world power. We can consider her as Bhuvaneshwara, the goddess of the earth, even Renu, goddess of the atom, and the donor of food, Anadha. So let us now feel this great abundance that we enjoy, and we find at the end of the day, we don't really have much to complain about. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.